Welcome to the Low Production, High Value Show with your host, Andrew Jenkins. On the show, we'll be exploring the world of entrepreneurship, social media, and the growing digital landscape. Whether you're a seasoned entrepreneur or just starting out, you know that the world of business is constantly evolving and changing. And in today's digital age, it is more important than ever to understand how social media and technology are affecting the way we do business. That's why on this show, we'll be talking to entrepreneurs and experts who have a wealth of knowledge and experience to share with you. From the latest trends and technologies to the struggles and triumphs of running a business, we'll be covering it all. So if you're looking to level up your entrepreneurial game and become more digitally savvy, then let's get started with the Low Production, High Value Show.
Welcome to the latest episode. And today we are talking to Ryan Wong, who is CEO of Manaknight. Welcome, Ryan.
Thanks. Thank you for having me.
So I've come to know you as someone who is leading multiple organizations, being a living example of the serial entrepreneur. So for those watching on YouTube and for those listening on their favorite podcast platform, how many organizations are you leading right now, and how many are you planning to incubate in the coming months?
So my main day-to-day is my consulting company where we help people make software. But in total, I think we're running 12 organizations. I'm part of.
It's a lot more than this even disclosed on your LinkedIn profile.
Yeah, because some of the stuff we're still building. So it's like once it's out, then I'll put it on.
Well, without giving anything away, proprietary, are they, in a sense, all interrelated, all 12, or do they some have just some distinct purposes? What can you share about that?
Yeah, so they're in different places. I have one that's enterprise sales. I have one that's B2B. I have one that's B2C. I have one for startup founders. I have one in different areas, but I didn't really choose the ideas myself, kind of thing. Like what I've learned over from doing so many projects for clients, most startups fail. So to decrease the risk, I have a co-founder for most of these, where basically they're the expert in the field. They've confirmed that this is a problem. They have a clear sales channel, and then we're partnering. So that's how I see it and how I could run so many companies at once.
But to build on that, so your co-founders, were they the ones in some of the instances that found the pain point or the unmet need that their service or solution was satisfying?
Yes, yeah, exactly. There's one I'm doing myself, so that there's more learnings from that, but otherwise everything else is part of someone else.
Okay. Well, and so let's talk about some of the learnings from the one that you started. What was the one that you started, and what was the catalyst for starting it?
Yeah, so I had a big epiphany in December last year. So I don't know if you guys keep up the AI news. Like every few months, the AI gets better, and it's like last year when we checked, they released an AI developer already, right? And according to its stats, it can already solve about, I think, 11% of all jobs that was assigned to it, right? So you think, oh, that's not very good, right? But I would say as of 3 months ago, or maybe 2 months ago, there's been a new one that can do 38% of the tasks that has been signed. Can you imagine?
And that's not even 6 months that it passed.
Exactly. What do you think is going to happen in 6 or 9 months from now? Even if it can hit 80%, that's already way better. So for me, the epiphany was like, shit, like if I sell technical services to clients, the perception that software is easy to make will decrease the value of me doing it for clients. So I'm like, okay, I've been doing services for clients for 7 years now. This is the 8th year. So it's like, I think now is now or never, right? So like I said, okay, let's go make products. And the moment I made that flip in my switch in my head, ideas came to me, people came to me, and it's like, okay, so now we're launching products. And it just happened to be 12. It's not like I chose that 12. It wasn't because it was like 12, one for each month, right? It just happened to be like that. And,
one more and you have a baker's dozen.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, that's how it came about, basically. And then back to your original question, why am I the one to do? So the main one I'm doing is called mytechpassport.com. And the idea is that, over time, most B2B SaaSes will get replaced by OpenAI. Like if it can be easily implemented by ChatGPT, that means that eventually they'll just add it to their platform, right? So
Are, are you talking about sales outreach, sales enablement? What do you mean? What do you mean into the context of B2B?
So a good example would be like I upload a PDF and I could chat with it. So when ChatGPT first came out, you couldn't do that. You could just only chat with it, right?
Right.
Then there are people who made something called chat. I think it's called GPT chat. No, I think it's like PDF chat or something. So someone released that, and then eventually OpenAI can do it. So like I would make sure that my business steers clear and away from anything that OpenAI is doing, right? So if you want to do an AI coach, like or an AI for health, they're going to do it. You know, so it's like it's very scary to do a B2B SaaS if you spent your whole like all your eggs in one basket just doing one product that OpenAI can overnight just wipe you out, right?
Well, I remember the sort of the domino effect after OpenAI Day when they announced all these advancements and new developments and new capabilities, and all these, to your point, third-party providers that had basically built their business on being a wrapper for ChatGPT. Like, oh, well, we just got taken out at the knees by OpenAI.
So, for example, one of the products I'm doing is in the engineering space, where basically we are helping when they do projects in the oil and gas industry, it costs almost $2 million for the engineers to review the documents, do all this document processing stuff. And we are trying to help use AI to replace some of the work that they're doing to make it more accurate and do it faster, right? So I would say for the first 3 months, there's one product that we'll work on 3 products in that product. The first product we will work on for 3 months. It was really hard because of all the limitations the AI had. But by the time like OpenAI Assistant came out, it just wiped out that product completely. Like you can imagine, like we spent 3 months hard R&D just trying to make it work, and it's like it doesn't work. And then like some of us were panicking, like, oh, like shit, is this still gonna work, right? And it's like I would try to avoid that feeling for everything else I've done for that, right? So my main product that I'm doing for that is called My Tech Passport. So the idea is for a 1 monthly subscription, we kind of have all your SaaS tools that you normally would use under one subscription. So the thesis is OpenAI is not going to wipe out all these tools that we made. So in our My Tech Passport, we have 80 tools implemented. So it's like if you find one of them useful, you'll keep paying for it. So that's our thought process, and then we'll just keep adding to it. So that's why that's the only product that I am doing myself, because I'm more confident that yes, there's a market for this. People are already paying for this, and if you can cut their costs, it's a no-brainer for people to use it.
Well, it to me, it's sort of analogous to the whole Microsoft solution provider ecosystem. Microsoft can get a company to a certain point with its own proprietary technology, software, etc., and they have their own professional services as well. But there are Microsoft solution providers that can take Microsoft technology and tailor it for specific client needs or industry needs and so on. And that's that gap that you're helping to close as well, it sounds like.
Yeah, because I think there's really big players that kind of doing what I'm doing, but they're focused on very basic business applications. I'm trying to fill all the other tools that people need that they're not doing. I'll give you an example, right? One tool that we find that we are making is it's a tracker for quality assurance testing. So imagine that you're testing a website, you catch a bug. So normally you have to go record a video or use another tool, record it, leave a comment, and then send it to your developers to fix it, right? We have this tool made that whereas basically it's a Chrome extension where you just say record, and then as you go through the rest of your site, it records every action you did, where you clicked, the pictures, all this is ready, you can just send to your developer. Right? So that's very useful. And this exists already for someone else, but it's like
right.
But now you mentioned tools like this, 80 of them like that, where it's like they're ready to go.
That brings up the sort of cliche, I won't say cliche, but the increasingly commonly used phrase that AI is not going to take your job, but people who know how to use it will.
Mm-hmm.
But some of the examples you're giving, are you saying that some of these solutions will mean, and I'm not trying to position you as menacing, is that some of your solutions will mean that certain jobs don't need to be done anymore by a human, or are you making them more productive, or sort of a combination of both?
Yeah, so I heard this saying from other podcasts recently, is that if your company is less than 50 people, you're not replacing anyone, like, because
Right.
like your company is small enough where like you need every person you need like has a function, right? So like I
Yeah.
think you are making people more productive so that they can do other stuff for your company, right?
Yeah.
But if you're
To
bigger
your
than that,
point, they're not likely going to hire to grow. They'll look at AI to help expand their productivity of the existing 50 for the feeling the need to add something to it. So,
yes, exactly. Yeah. But I think like some jobs shouldn't be done by people anyways, right? Right? Like data entry work, like stuff that you do multiple times and it's very simple. And I think like AI is very good at it. So I always say like if you can make a SOP for it, then you can automate with AI at some point.
yeah. Well, yeah, SOP is a great way to describe it. And it's something that's often repeated daily, weekly, whatever. Automate that as best you can. The where do you? Let me take a step back. Do you feel that maybe it's just not only in your own work, but that the best way for implementing AI is a combination of what you've described from some of your client engagements, where it's a mixture of developing technology, AI based, but also I'll call it some consultative or professional services tied to it as well, so that there's proper alignment with we're building this technology with corporate objectives in mind or specific to the needs. And then can we productize this for others? Is
Basically, yeah.
that
So like my theory is I think a lot of these AI products, SaaSes, are not going to survive in the long run, but AI implementation for companies to increase the productivity will. So helping them set up their AI pipelines, setting up their automations with AI, that has huge value. And I think and that's one of the directions I'm going in.
Well, I think that sort of addresses a lot of the IT, the often talked about number of IT projects that fail because of poor adoption, mismanaged rollouts, etc. And I was listening to a podcast the other day, and someone mentioned that McKinsey is projecting 40% of their revenue will be related to AI projects. And like to your point about the rapid change, who knows how much of their revenue last year was from AI projects? Probably not much.
Yeah.
And now it's 40.
I would say like if people to read my book about it, like I think we're like we had the agricultural revolution, then we had the industrial revolution, and then we had the internet age. I think this is the AI revolution where like every company is going to be flipped on their head in terms of like what defines work that a company needs to do, right? I think in the given way the companies work now, like one person should be able to do 10 people's work in the future, knowing how to use these different tools.
Yeah. Oh, this definitely feels like the internet age of the early 90s. The pace, I hate to say hype, because there is some of that, but I just remember how curious I was about what was going on in the early 90s, what was emerging. And this, just to your point, the indications of what might be possible if people just not even dip the toe in, but just do some experimentation. That's one of the great things with AI is you can iterate and ideate and experiment at such a rapid pace and multiple times and compare outcomes in a completely safe way that was just invaluable for many, and to scenario planning, idea testing, etc. So, where are you spending most of your time?
Yeah, so nowadays I'm spending most of my time trying to make these products get launched right now. For my main consulting company, I've already automated most of my company. You wouldn't believe it, but like I said, I have 40 employees. One project manager managed 40 employees, and we have no meetings in my company. So
And we have
no
no, sorry?
meetings in my company. So I am
Well, so can you reveal a bit of the tech stack that enables you to do that?
yeah. So basically for my company, the way we run our company is completely unorthodox compared to everyone else. So we use WhatsApp to manage the whole company's communication because we
Okay.
have a lot of global members and
Right.
WhatsApp is everywhere.
Yep.
And we make sure that we have asynchronous systems so that people can manage their time better. So like every day, everyone makes a video about what they did. So like, can you watch 40 videos or can you do 40 meetings per day? By having videos, I can know what everyone's doing and like I can give quick feedback, right?
Right. And these are all short clips?
Yeah. They just film like up to 5 minutes. They just open up the camera,
Yeah.
record what they did, show their screen, and then we can know what they did. And then basically, we have weekly demos and deadlines with clients. So it's like everyone's accountable for the work they're doing. So there's no micromanagement. You just know this is what I need to do, right? And
Right.
then by doing videos, I don't have to do meetings with people. So
Plus, people can go back and rewatch
exactly.
some or all of it if they need to make sure that, okay, that's the instruction. That's the clarification or whatever, as opposed to trying to remember from their notes if they took
Yes.
any from a meeting.
Correct. Yeah.
Very cool.
And then for my product, so the idea is like if I meet someone, I think this is a potential product, then basically my same team would do the product. I would be in the starting part of the project of like planning what needs to be done, we need to wireframe of the project. And then once the project is moving, then I'm not that involved, right? Like I'm involved when it's done, right? So that's why I can run 12 products at once. But the model that I'm thinking of running is I cannot run sales for all 12 products. That I just won't have enough time, right? I can run, products and technology for 12 companies because that work can be done asynchronously, and I have enough staff where we can split the work. So that's what I can run for 12. If you told me Ryan runs sales for all 12, like I wouldn't be able to do it.
But the of the 12, and you said you've got co-founders, are the other 12, is it a situation of mostly founder-led sales, or do some of them have sales resources in place now?
So I think right now for most of it is founder-led sales, but they all have their sales channel and angle to do it.
Right. And well, from an AI maturity, do you see AI playing a role? And I'm curious to understand how you see it having a role as they move from a point of maturity from founder-led sales to having sales resources in place. Maybe that still has to be thought about, but I'm just curious as you look ahead, where you see the role of AI in that evolution.
AI can help with the setting the call, but I don't think AI is good for doing the actual sales call.
Yeah, I agree. It's not going to replace the human interaction that's required in the sales engagement. But if it makes them more productive for the lead up and then follow up and staying connected, that kind of thing. Yeah, I think there's a role to play, but I just wondered what your thoughts were, if there's anything more to say about that.
No, I think the goal is, like I said, once they get running, and the idea is, like I said, I'm doing so many different. I consider each product an experiment. I don't expect all 12 to survive in the long run, but let's say, like I said, a quarter of it survives, then that's pretty good. And the idea is, whatever learnings I get from one, I can apply to the other, right? So it's like, okay, next is building sales team, and because I know so many fractional people, if I really need the help, I can come contact them and like, hey, I need to build a sales team. What do you suggest, right? So,
well, we'll come to the fractional component in a moment, but before we leave the 12, I'm curious, are of the 12 co-founders, are all or at least a good portion of them equally passionate and firm believers in AI?
Firm believers in AI? Not not exactly. Like they're different eras. They're passionate about the product that we're doing together, but not necessarily. They don't know as much about AI as I do.
So that's the part of the role that you're playing to help them progress and be more successful. Is you're bringing the AI capabilities to the table more so than they might be.
Yeah. So we're building the product, and we were building it efficiently, make sure the product is stable, and like really like overtaking like, the product department of the company.
Well, you mentioned fractional, and that was something I wanted to talk to you about as well, because that was sort of the catalyst for us being introduced as this term fractional and the fractional C-suite has become more commonplace. Talk to me about where you first heard about it, or what captured your interest in tapping into the whole fractional C-suite space.
Yeah. So for the 7 years of running my business, all my clients were from the US. I didn't have a big Canadian network. So like last year in the summer, I went to 5 network events a week to try to see, okay, how can I build a bigger network in Toronto? And every time I went to an event, it was hit or miss. Sometimes you meet people, sometimes you don't. And then when you're not the most extroverted person, it's even harder, right? Like you might meet, let's say 2 or 3 people that you get along well with at the event, and that's it, right? And it's not a reliable way to get business or to build a network, right? So then I'm like, okay,
that's a lot of time and energy devoted to it too.
So I'm like, okay, what's the next best action I do? So I'm like, okay, let's make friends with the organizers, right? Because if you make friends with the organizers, they know a lot of people. That makes sense, right? So it's like, okay, I did that, and then they invite you to private parties where basically they meet more people, and it's like, oh, that's pretty good. So like you meet hiring people. I think I've got a sale before from doing that, and I'm like, oh, this is good. But the problem is, it's whenever they want to do the private parties. I'm like, okay, maybe I should start holding my own events, right? And then by accident, I chose fractional. It wasn't intentional, right? It was just like, oh, like I guess I'm fractional. And then one of the event organizers I know, he helped me, hey, Ryan, I'll help you host the event here. You invite some people, I'll invite some people, and then we'll get your first event going. So my first event was in a condo. We had 16 people come.
Sorry, how many?
16.
Okay.
Right. And after I did it, the comments was amazing. People loved it. They're like, oh, this is great, because everyone's roughly the same job title, right? And then it's like consultants like to help other consultants, right? It's like, because like you have to have enough people skills to get business, right? Like you can't be like a founder who doesn't like to talk to people, right? So everyone was there, everyone talked to each other. It was very friendly, and everyone loved it. And I was like, oh, this is good. Why don't I do this again? So then I did it again, this time in a restaurant instead. And I had 36 people come. And again, same thing. People loved it. I'm like, oh, maybe I should keep doing these events then. So I've been doing one event a month since. And every time I do it, people leave very good positive comments. So like, oh, so this is working, right? And in an implied way, it actually helped me as well, because now I was able to meet quality people that either I can work with or I connect with other people, and then help other people and give value that way. And I've been doing that for a while, and now it's like, it's gotten me more projects, more partnership, more dividend. And like, I used to do online networking. There was a software called Lunch Club. Yep. Have you ever used it?
I know it. I used it.
Yeah. I used to do Lunch Club like 2 or 3 times a week. And I'm like, oh, I'm meeting people. And it's like, oh, I'm doing networking and stuff, right? But the thing was, these people never talk to you after the first call, right? Versus like, if you see them in person, you're more likely to like potentially work together in the future, right? And I found that was way more powerful when I did in-person events. And like, and then basically I just keep expanding on it. Yeah.
I was just gonna say, have you tried it internationally?
Internationally?
Like gone to a city and tried to have a dinner?
No.
Just I'm going to Chicago on July. I mean, maybe that's the future. Is to say I'm coming to Chicago. I want to meet so and so and so and so. See where it goes. I don't know. I'm looking forward to your upcoming event. Sorry I missed your the last one, but to your point, it's instead of hoping that some of the events that you attend are enjoyable to attend and beneficial from a business point of view, even if it's paying it forward for others, making it making your own destiny seems to be a better way of going.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's just a different way to stand out as well, right? Because like otherwise, if I was to tell people I'm just another software development company, the software clients, right? So
Social media has become an imperative for almost every business. Discover how to successfully implement an effective social media strategy that is supported and integrated throughout every part of your organization with this essential book from our host, Andrew Jenkins. Social Media Marketing for Business, Scaling an Integrated Social Media Strategy Across Your Organization, is now available from Amazon or KoganPage.com.
Well, from the folks that you've met through those circumstances, what's your sense of the fractional space? It seems maybe it's just buzzword. So a lot of the people in the fractional space are consultants, but whether fractional is a concept that is more easily, people can understand it more or more easily. I don't know. But from the folks that you've met through these events, what are they explaining the fractional often to be?
yeah, so I found fractional
What are
is
the benefits
very
from it?
confusing. So let me explain, okay? So
Sure.
as a company, you have three choices, right? Let's say I want a CMO, right? Like I want someone to do marketing for me, right? You have three choices, right? One, I hire a student, hire a junior person, pay them a lower salary, tell them to do the work, figure it out, right? So hit or miss, they may not know what to do. They might, it really depends on the person, right?
But and it can take up a lot of your time to oversee
Correct,
it too.
right? Then the next method is, okay, I'm going to hire a full CMO, go in the market, pay him whatever salary they ask for, and he's on full time, but he should know what to do and he should run the department, right? So that makes sense, but a lot of startups don't have the cash to do that. So then what's your option? So the option is do something in the middle where basically, okay, I'm going to hire an agency or a firm that specializes in marketing and help me do it with a company, or I'm going to hire this person called a fractional where basically he is a CMO, but he's willing to give me part-time hours to work for my company, right? So that's how the company sees it, right? And from the fractional side, I see fractional from talking to so many people. They will never say this themselves, but I feel like fractionals, there's three types of fractionals. It's one, they got laid off recently and like they need to find work. So it's like they're willing to take fractional work. But once they get full-time job, they won't do fractional, right? That's one group. The next group is they're tired of corporate life. They want 2 or 3 clients and that's it. So they don't really want to run a full business. They just want to get enough to maybe make the same salary or just enough to like enough work to keep them busy. Then there are the people who are agencies, kind of like me and you, where basically it's like we will take as many clients as we can, but we're really an agency and we're not really fractional, but we can do fractional work for the company. So that's how I see it.
Well, you're part of the same for you. It's you're not like your clients don't need a full-time team of your resources. You're either doing a project or you're doing a portion of full-time work every day for them because that's one that they can afford to, that's what they need. And like after the project, maybe they just need a certain percentage of maintenance after that. Well, that's not a full-time thing. For us, we only focus on social media. That's not a 40-hour a week kind of thing. So our value proposition is that you can get an agency for a cost that's lower than a full-time headcount. Now, they may have full-time resources in place like you deal with too, from the client contact, client sponsor, whatever that is. They're your point of contact. They're the ones overseeing your engagement. They're the full-time person or persons. You're the added bench strength for them for their success. But to go back to your 3 buckets of fractional, one of the things I think that helps the folks in that space is this idea of it might be easier to sell someone on being hired part-time than being hired full-time. So they can find 3 or 4 clients that are willing to buy 5 to 10 hours of the time per week or whatever it is, and they can find 4 organizations that want to do that, as opposed to finding the one. Especially you want a CMO. This is someone who's senior in terms of experience and years of work. Well, they can be expensive. The more senior you are and the more experience you have, the longer it takes for you to find a new job, if you are in fact looking for it. So I think there's this opportunity for them to buy at a lower price, by going the or get it's faster to a yes going fractional. So, but anything else to add about fractional in terms of positioning or dispelling some myths?
Myths about fractional people, or
Yeah, like are there myths that are there things about fractional that people misunderstand, or
yeah, there's one part I don't understand about fractionals. Sometimes I talk to some fractionals, they want to charge a really high hourly, but they would want to be fractional. So it's like it does the two, like that's the dilemma, right? It's like fractionals need to be cheaper than the full-time employee. Otherwise, why not just go the full-time employee? Otherwise, you're just really a consultant and you just call yourself fractional. Like I met someone before, they told me they charge $500 an hour, and I'm like, which company is going to pay you $500 an hour to do, like, I think he was doing like go to market, sales, leadership, like helping sales, that stuff. And it's like in my head, I'm like, if I was a startup, if it's $500, I would just go for the full time person in that scenario, right? So it's like I feel there's a little bit of a dissonance for some people.
I mean, that can be justified in charging a slight premium, but to your point, like trying to replace a full time salary at part-time effort, there's a disconnect there. So, but the market will tell them whether that they're on the right track or not in terms of the level of receptiveness to that.
And then the other thing I think a lot of people forget is we live in a globalized society. We don't just live in Canada, right? So it's like you can say whatever price you want, but it's like if the market, everyone else is different, like you won't get the sales, right? And I think some people still don't really understand that, right? It's like for me, I sell globally, right? So it's like I know how much I can charge or not, right? But some people, they're still a little bit confused on that, and then they wonder why they don't have clients.
Well, and by being global, are you also helped or hindered by, like, if you find resources in a lower cost environment for you to tap into for software development and things like that?
Yeah, so we also run a global recruitment company as well. So we got really good at, we're very good at tech, we're very good at operations, and we're very good at recruitment.
Well, do you tend to or price on project or value-based pricing, so it's set fees or retainers? Because sometimes when you get into conversations around hourly, it's a race to the bottom because people want to track hours and they're worried about the dollars and not the outcome.
Yeah, so for me, it's my problem is like in my consulting company, what we're selling is a commodity, right? There's a lot of developers everywhere. So we don't sell hours, we go by project, but you can only go so far with value-based pricing, like if the person only has $100 in his pocket, he can't pay you $1,000, like it's just not going to happen, right? So it's like, versus if you're selling sales consulting or like marketing consulting, then it's like, yeah, and maybe you can like do more value-based pricing, but it's harder to do it.
Well, I wanted to go back to the events that you're holding, and not so much the events, but just the underlying reason for it, which is to make for more valuable networking events and just more valuable networking activities. You used Lunch Club, so did I. I had some very nice conversations with people, but and I tried to help some where I could, but it was, yes, nice conversations, but there was nothing that came of it afterward. And it's not always that money has to follow, but just whether led to a referral, or like, I tried to make some introductions and so on. It just seemed to sort of
So well,
dissipate.
yeah.
And I'm just curious about your overarching philosophy about networking. More of a pay it forward, like lead with how I can assist. What's your philosophy when it comes to networking?
Yeah, so for networking, I always think about like how I can help the other person. I don't really care. Like some people are like, what's the ROI on going to events? Right? Like everyone needs, like whenever I talk to people like that, it's always the sales guy. Like if they're like, I'm from a sales background, like you can smell it. You can smell it in the air, right? It's like, you know when someone's like hunting. It's like, I don't want to be associated with this guy, right? So like for me, it's just more like, hey, when I go to events, I want to meet people, and then like how can I help them? And like if I can give value, that's a win for me, because I know if I do this enough, it'll come back around, right? Um, there was there was a there was a good analogy someone said, like about I guess like believing in God or religion and stuff. It's that if you help someone else, right, and then that person helps someone else, and that was someone else, at some point it has to come back to you, right? And it's like if the what's it called, like the universe, the God work can use you to help more people, then he has to keep you alive and give you more stuff so you can keep doing it, right? So it's like the idea of like constantly like helping more people, and that's really the value of the network. It's not really, hey, I know all these cool friends, or I know all these rich people, or like it's not really about that, right? It's like if you're constantly there with the intention to help people, that's what I feel.
Well, and I'm in your camp as well. I know someone who's described it as it's kind of it's like having a bank account. You keep making deposits, deposit, and occasionally you may need to make a withdrawal. That's where you can call upon someone. I need some help in this area, or if you want to go from depositing, just call it a dividend. Someone reciprocates, and then we may not have even asked them to. They remembered, how you helped them, how you made them feel, and they came back to you and said, I was talking to so and so. I thought the two of you should chat. And yeah, the whole idea of karma, good karma, that if you help others, and I've used this phrase before, but I can't link into it. His name is John Ferreira. And he says, if you teach people to fish, eventually they figure out you sell fishing poles. So if you help and assist and support, you'll receive the same, maybe not from the same person, but eventually. And but it sounds like the events that you've started putting together facilitates that too, so that others that are coming can pay it forward with the folks that they meet.
But the biggest part I don't like about events is a lot of the event organizers, they're just there to sell tickets. Like they're like, how much money can I make? How many tickets can I sell? And like they didn't like think twice about what the problems are. I think maybe because I come from software where it's like everything, like when you run programs, if it's not perfect, it doesn't work. It'll crash, right? So for me, it's like, what are all the bottlenecks? I need to fix them in my events. And like if I do my own events, I could fix them, right? So like one thing I do is like I make sure the event is fair for both introverts and extroverts, right? So an introvert can still meet enough people, whereas like I feel enough value, right? That's something no event does, right? So like I saw that, right? And then like,
well, so talk to me a little bit about the mechanics of that. When you say that you're addressing both introverts and extroverts, how does that manifest itself at the event itself?
Yeah, so
are you facilitating movement from table to table?
Because the thing is, okay, I don't know if you've been to events. Usually, people form their own little circles. If it's a standing event, so they stand in a circle, they have their circle, and then people don't move. Either they're trying to be nice, or they don't know, or like this is their friends, they don't want to talk to other people. And it's like, and for introvert, it's even hard to get into the circle, right? So it's like, when you go to an event, you might meet one or two people, and then that's it, right? But like, so part of the events I do is like, when there's a sit down part of dinner, right? So then you have to sit down with 6 other people. You have to talk to 6 other people, and they have to talk to you, right? And then we switch tables later on. So it's like, by the end of the event, you would have at least had to talk to 18 people. So it's like, that's more people than I would talk to if I was to go to another event.
Yeah, because if you just shoved in a room with no facilitation of movement, to your point, you're going to latch onto a couple of people that show signs of being, like people you could talk to, and our own apprehensions kick in. So you're not going to leave that life raft of those few people to move around the room, and that's been reflected in the feedback you've gotten from the events.
Yeah. So that's one of the reasons people like my events, right? So it's like basically I just think all the problems I have and I just solve them. So it's like I literally treat the events no different than how I would treat a software project, right? How do I make it better, more optimal? Ask for feedback, improve for next time, and then keep doing that.
Have you heard of Keith Ferrazzi?
No.
So he wrote a book called Never Eat Alone about
Yeah, I think I
networking.
heard that. Yeah.
He was the youngest CMO. I believe he was a CMO of Deloitte. And he just talks about his approach to networking. And, it's being human, being more vulnerable, having, richer conversations, and being helpful. And I read the book, loved it, and I was able to facilitate him coming to my MBA school to talk, because a lot of students in the MBA school are introverts and don't know how to network. And I mean, I consider myself to a certain degree to be an introvert, but I have a sales background, so you get used to setting your apprehensions aside and engaging people in conversation that you don't know, and learning more about them. But to your point, I don't go into a networking event. So who am I going to close in the next 20 minutes? Because, yeah, people can smell a pitch coming, it being a matter of moments. So, but those are in real life events. Some of your approach and your thinking, how does that translate to the online space, places like LinkedIn, in terms of your approach?
Yeah. So I don't know. I still don't really get LinkedIn. Like I know people who do LinkedIn, like they say, "Oh, I'll do thought leadership on it and all that stuff." And then for me, it's like I don't know. Like for me, it doesn't really make sense. Like I've tried different things. I've tried the automation method of like hit connect, have a series of scripts. I just think for software, it's very hard to advertise on LinkedIn, because it's like there's so many providers. It's like you don't stand out. Like I literally just use LinkedIn to get people to come to my event. So like my whole strategy now is like, if I have an event, I would just call outreach to people like, hey, here's my event. I've done it a few times. Here's the proof. Tell me if you want to come. And I actually got 10% conversion rate.
That you're being more genuine and authentic in that versus the automated scripts and so on of outreach. So, I mean, I'm putting words into your mouth here, but your authenticity of your in real life events, you're using LinkedIn to serve them and giving people a hint of your authenticity versus trying to just, hey, look at me, and who tried to be, salesy, pitchy, and I agree that there are times on LinkedIn by many that there's some cringy behavior, but if you seem to have found a system or a method or approach that's working for you, that's making valuable and enriching connections. So kudos to you. I wouldn't do anything or say anything to take anything away from it. So, but just as we come to a close, you're a decade out now from school. What advice would you give for others that are maybe having an inkling about starting something on their own? Like what words of wisdom or advice would you give? You've gone, in a decade from, being involved in one organization to being involved in 12. And I'm sure you're not stopping there.
Yeah. So I would say like really understand yourself, like have some self-awareness. Like not everyone needs to get into business. Right? Business is not for everyone, right? Like, but like really understand what is your goals, what like realistically what is my skill set at, and like and then like don't spend like years of your life just like sitting in the middle. Like I've seen some people fall in the trap of like saying oh I'm still learning. Like they would work a job and then they go jump to another job like, oh I don't think I have enough skills. I need to stay here for like a year or two and like build up my skills more. But then that never ends, right? Like you have to learn more skills until it becomes invaluable. So it's like if you're saying that, hey, like I can take risks, like I really want to start something, then go do it. Don't wait, right? If you're saying that, oh no, that's too risky or whatever, then find a way to work in companies where you can still get that income goal you want without the risk, but like be strategic about it, right? Like if a company has no growth potential, move companies, right? Like or like like talk to people who know how to play the corporate ladder game way better than you, right? And really be mindful about how you spend your time. That's what.
Well, I think to your point about people who say, "Oh, I need to do some learning." Sometimes their work in corporate, the learning is, "Oh, I don't want to do this." Like they learn that, "Oh, this is not going to be fulfilling for me to do this for 10, 15, or whatever years." I mean, my father worked for one company for 33 years. I worked for the same company for 3.
Yeah.
And I was bored out of my mind. No disrespect to my father or to the company. It became evident to me. I don't know if part of the appeal for you is being involved in 12 different companies is that you are curious, you're interested in a multitude of things. And like you said with networking, you saw gaps and you saw certain things that you wanted to accomplish. So you designed it for yourself. So is the 12 companies to serve your curiosity and your disparate interests?
There's a few reasons why I did it, right? One was, like I said, for 7 years, we didn't do any experimentation, like hard experimentation, right? So now it's like, okay, if we're doing products, I just seen so many companies fail. Like, I'm not going to put all my eggs in one basket in one product, right? So it's like, for me, this year is all about learning how do I do how should I be doing products, right? That's one thing I'm trying to solve. And number two is, like you said, it's like, oh, these are interesting products, different spaces. Let me investigate how this, and it's like it doesn't cost me a lot more resource to do that, right? That's number two. And then number three is like I've always thought more of an investor. Like I didn't even get into tech because I want to go into tech. I was trying to get into life science and medicine initially, right? So it's like for me, it's like it's all about, okay, how do I best use my resources? How do I best use my time to hit whatever income goals I want to hit? And then these 12 products align with what I want to achieve? So it's like, it's taking a step back and thinking about in that direction instead of me saying, hey, I live and breathe this product fully and then everything else does not exist.
Well, so you're mitigating risk by betting on a multitude of horses, which is they're deemed wise. But just to build on that, so as you identify these other horses to bet on, yes, some of them have co-founders. How much, like, are business plans being written, or is it more shooting from the hip and being a bit of reactive and a bit of proactive? Because not every organization has a business plan written, especially with AI and things moving so fast. It's very hard to write a 3 or 5 year plan.
Yeah. So for me, every project I'm doing, the clients are they're paying for the project, at least at cost, and then we have equity in the company. So for me, the risk is like very low. So it's like we're not have like a full 5-year business plan, but it's like this is the objective, this is what we want to hit, and then we'll see how far it gets. And that's what I'm saying. I don't expect all 12 to survive, but it's like if it gets past the initial hump, then I know, okay, this is going to make it. Then maybe double down, put more resource into it, or spend more time on it, or so forth. That process.
But not specific to any one of the 12, but just in general, like for yourself, are you looking 1 year out, 3 years out, 5 years out? Given all the work you're doing related to AI, is it, are you like, how far ahead are you planning, or how? Sometimes you can just have a general sense of the direction you want to go and be more fluid about it because of how rapidly things are changing, or are you just curious about your thoughts for the future?
I don't know.
And your
For
approach?
me, like I didn't go to business school, right? So it's like I started business after like just doing it, and for me, it's just always been like get it working a bit, and then we can project. What are you projecting on when if the product's not done? That it's just it's a lot of planning work that goes to waste for me. I feel like
Well, it sounds like you're doing rapid prototyping of business ideas, and being innovative. There's a book called The Catalyst by Jean Litkin. She teaches at the Darden School of Business, and someone can spend an inordinate amount of time doing research, writing a business plan, ask for budget, and still fail, versus someone can say, instead of chasing one idea, I'm going to chase 10 ideas at lower cost. Might be the same amount cumulatively, but I'm rapid prototyping ideas. I'm experimenting. But oftentimes organizations are not, like, if I go to someone who has the budget and say, can you give me $100,000 and with a high risk of failure, which is going to help the company avoid spending $1 million? That's a very difficult proposition for them to get their head around, because they want everything to succeed, versus, okay, I'm going to try 10 different experiments that might cost $100,000 cumulatively, but one or two of them will hopefully hit. And so it's some perhaps terminology, but just with your collaborators that are funding projects, are they more in the camp of like, do they understand when they're engaging you that this is somewhat of an experimentation?
no. So a lot of them, like they fully believe the idea is going to work, right? Otherwise, like they wouldn't do it, right? And usually, like they are an expert in that field. So it's like I'm betting on their validation that this is a real problem. This is how we're going to solve it, and so
Right.
forth, right? And that's what I'm saying. Like once, like I hope my experiment can end soon, and like they go live, and then we really test the market, and then I can feel like, what do I like? Do I like B2B? Do I like B2C? Do I like enterprise sales? Right? Do I like lower ticket SaaSes? Once I have a feel of that, then I would double my energy on those specific parts, right?
The customer and market validation.
Yes. Yeah.
But then also, to your point, the market validates it, but then also, does it resonate with you in terms of where you want to put your time and energy?
Yeah, exactly.
So, well, listen, I want to thank you so much for your time. I enjoyed the conversation, and I'm grateful for what you shared with us. I think there's a lot of valuable insights that the audience will appreciate. So thank you.
No problem.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Low Production High Value Show. Be sure to give us a rating and subscribe to make sure you never miss an episode. Don't forget to check out Volterra at volterradigital.com to learn more about how they can support your social media marketing.